Hello everyone, it's me Uncle John. Today I am going to read 6066 Nelson Mandela, page 65. Water had reached 1.3 million South Africans and electricity had reached 58% of the population. We can and shall build a country of our dreams, he said. In June 1999, there were elections again in South Africa. The ANC received 66% of the votes and Thabo Mbeki was elected president. Leaders from 130 countries watched as Mandela's government ended and the new president Mbeki promised to obey the laws of South Africa. Mandela and Mbeki lifted their hands as the crowd watched. This was the beginning of a new government, Mbeki said, but it was also a day of thanks to those who pulled the country out of apartheid. It was time for Mandela to step away from national life and to enjoy time with his children and grandchildren. He moved to Kuno, Transkei, where he had built a home similar to the prison guard's house, where he lived in Victor the Verster prison. The new president gave a dinner to say thank you and goodbye to Mandela as he began this new life. Mandela said that it would not be easy to rest while millions were still poor, but it would make him happy to know that people were joining together to continue the work of the past. Though I shall not be seen as often as before, he said, I shall be among you and with you as we enter the African century, working together to make a reality of our hopes for a better world. Chapter 10, A Quieter Life. South Africa has become popular with tourists from all nations of the world. And in 2005, more than 1.5 million tourists visited the country. The most popular place for tourists is still Table Mountain in Cape Town. Over 1,000 meters high, Table Mountain is home to beautiful plants and animals and has views over the beaches and sea, with Robben Island not far away. Many tourists visit Robben Island to see the cell where Mandela spent so many years and the lime quarry where the prisoners worked. Tourists can also visit his old home in Soweto. Johannesburg has grown and Rivonia is now part of the city. Large houses have been built on the fields near Lily's Leaf Farm. When he was released in 1990, Mandela searched the quiet street before he found the house where he lived as a driver called David Mosamai. The farm is now being developed as a museum and center for visitors. It'll be a place to remember the leaders who lived in Lily's Leaf and show how important they were. Center will help visitors to understand what the struggle was about. Many tourists visit the wild coast of Mandela's childhood, with its green hills and beautiful beaches, and make the journey to Kuno, the small village where he lived as a child, where he still lives for many months of each year. South Africans are proud of their country, and Africans have become richer since 1994. Many have built their own businesses and taken jobs in government and are hungry for more success. Government has built nearly 2 million houses, and by 2005, most homes had electricity. Nearly half of homes had telephones. South African TV companies were making their own programs, but there were thousands of Africans who still did not have jobs or land and who were still very poor. Nelson Mandela's part in the history of South Africa did not end when he stepped away from national life. He continued to learn from the suffering of his people and from his own personal suffering. HIV AIDS has become the greatest problem in South Africa. In 2004, over 6 million South Africans were living with HIV. In 2002, Mandela began to work to help those with HIV AIDS. He asked his children's fund to build houses for children who had lost their parents through AIDS, and the fund now helps 150,000 of these children. In 2003, Mandela began to organize a new music campaign for people with HIV AIDS. He used his old prison number, 46664, for this campaign. There was a large concert in Cape Town where Mandela spoke to the crowd. The singers Angelique Kidjo, Baba Mar, Bob Geldof, Beyonce, Miss Dynamite, Lady Smith, Black Mambazo, Yvonne Clark, Chaka Chaka, and many others were involved in the concert. Since then, there have been concerts in Spain and Norway. The money from the campaign is used for programs to care for people with HIV AIDS. The campaign also asks both famous and ordinary people to help those with AIDS. For example, many people helped the Lukagang Itirelang AIDS Ministry in Orlando, Soweto. The center cares for more than 300 children who have lost both their parents to AIDS. Mandela has friends in all nations. Many of them are helping his work. Mandela has experienced the death of many of his friends and family. In May 2003, Walter Sisulu died. Mandela spoke at his burial of the pain that he felt when he saw his friends go. From the moment when we first met, Walter has been my friend, my brother, he said, and he ended with a call to the people. The spear of the nation has fallen. Let us pick up the spear now to build a country after the example that Walter Sisulu has set for us. In April 2004, Mandela was invited to Parliament to speak about the 10 years of South Africa's freedom. He remembered the excitement and happiness of those first days of freedom. He asked people not to forget the terrible past from which they came, but to let it remind them of how far they had come and how much they had done. His wish, he said, was that South Africans should never stop believing in goodness. South Africa had become an example to many, and it showed that good could grow among those who were prepared to work with others and to believe in the goodness of people. As Mandela left the parliament, everyone sang Dolly Halla Rol the Halla. Mandela, freedom is in your hands. Show us the way to freedom in Africa. A few weeks later, Mandela decided to spend more time with his family and friends. He wanted a much quieter life and rest from all his work. On Mandela's birthday in 2004, all his family came to visit him, and at the party, both Winnie and Graca helped him to cut the birthday cake. But the sadness in his life was not over. In January 2005, Mandela told the world that his son, Makato, a lawyer like his father, had died of AIDS at the age of 54. Makato's young children were left without parents since their mother had died of AIDS in 2003. Mandela, who had spent months visiting his son in hospital, said that it was important for people to talk about AIDS. Only way to make it appear like a normal illness, like TB, like cancer, is always to come out and say that somebody has died because of HIV, AIDS. President Mbeki and Archbishop Desmond Tutu joined thousands of people in Kunu for Makato's burial. Nothing could hide the pain in Mandela's face as he sat with his wife, daughters, and grandchildren during the burial, and stood with a yellow rose in his hand as his son was buried. And yet, Mandela could not rest completely, and he still accepted some invitation. In February 2005, Mandela visited London for the Make Poverty History campaign. Bob Geldof introduced Mandela to the crowd in Trafalgar Square and called him the president of the world. Mandela's smile was on his face again as he spoke to the crowd of 22,000 people. I say to all those leaders, do not look the other way. Do not hesitate. Recognize that the world is hungry for action, not words. A few months later, in June 2005, at the age of nearly 87, Mandela traveled to Tromsø in Norway for the 664th concert. This has indeed been a long journey from Johannesburg in South Africa to Tromsø in Norway, but we are pleased to be here. Tonight, the people of Tromsø can stand tall and proud, he said. He thanked the people of Tromsø for their work. Then he said, you have become part of us, so you are now all African. For more than 50 years, the name of Nelson Mandela has been heard, first in South Africa and then across the world. Mandela spent nearly 30 years in prison, but those years did not destroy him. Instead, they made him strong and patient and gave him experience in negotiating, working with other people, and in listening to their problems. Mandela is still the world's greatest leader. The end.